Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is America's Supermom, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Corona Chronicles Live. We are scheduled to have a guest this morning who has not arrived yet, so we are going to keep it moving. So, I want to say we are approaching the end of the week, and how is everybody doing today? We have to take this time to check in with ourselves. A lot of time we get so caught up in all the things that we have to do that we forget to check in with ourselves. So before our guest arrives, I will give us one tip on how we can check in with ourselves. So many of you who do follow me, you know my story of being America's Supermom. My husband and I have 15 children. Yes, that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of hands to try to do everything. And it has been quite an adventure. Life takes you on ups and downs, twists and turns, but I'm happy to say that I am fully embracing where I am today and loving it. Okay, so at this stage of my life, I'm just in a place to be able to give back to others and teach them all the lessons that I have learned just in my life, which, hey, when you put that in comparison with everything in the whole world, there's so much more that I can learn. I don't know everything, even though I thought I did. So I struggled with depression for a period of 13 years. And during that time, I was hospitalized 3 times. And when I say dealt with depression, it was kind of like a silent thing. I was fully functional. I was taking my kids to practices, going to class parties, helping with PTA, all these different things that are the good parent things to do. But I was unfulfilled and I was just always beating myself up about all the things that I hadn't accomplished. So, needless to say, it took a downward spiral. And I struggled with this for this long period of time. And in between that period, there were 3 hospitalizations. So, during this time with the global pandemic, it gave me some time to kind of reflect because after my last hospitalization, that is what really catapulted me into being a lifestyle designer. I empower women to overcome their limiting beliefs and to transform their mindset. So I just basically just used my own story. I created a philosophy that I coined as Fresh Start. And FRESH is an acronym for 5 pillar areas that were very important in order for me to transform my mindset to overcome depression and maintain a life depression free. So during this time of the global pandemic, everybody is scattering around trying to figure out, how they can take control of a situation that is totally out of our control. And it led me to thinking that I was able to be creative and really dive deep within myself to create the strategy. However, that strategy came as a result of something happening to me, right? Or for me, however you want to say it. But the issue is, I already had a problem when I had that solution. So I wanted to create something during the pandemic that helped people to be proactive about the situation when it comes to mental wellness because there are so many different things that kind of just creep in quietly that if we ignore them, they turn into bigger things. And so during the pandemic, when I was doing a lot of Facebook Lives for groups, teaching them through master classes, women especially, how to juggle being a mom and also managing, your work balance that you have because you're working from home, your kids are at home, spouse may be at home, recreation's at home, everything is at home around the clock. And that really, is so funny. I look back at it now, and that's just really what my life seemed like during that period of depression. It was like I didn't get a break. I was 24/7 around the clock, fulfilling these obligations as a mother. And I just felt like I was not winning at that game at all. I was just failing every day because I had this checklist of trying to get everything done. And hey, it was not happening. So, very profound because it was during this time of reflection that I realized that, I was just failing every day. So, you have a checklist of 5 things. And so instead of saying, it's been 3 days, I've only gotten 2 things done on this list, we don't think to make the list smaller. We just think to, well, if I don't do it today, I'm going to pile it on to tomorrow. And then you already have 5 things for tomorrow, but then you pile on whatever you didn't get on the day before. So think about it. If you can't handle what you had at first, why would you put more responsibility on yourself? I mean, it's a no-brainer, but when you take into account all the things that you have going on that you're distracted with, what seems like common sense is not common sense. It's just an illustration of how your mind is overwhelmed, how it is not functioning at 100% potential. So I'll give you an example. So let's say that you have one of your children, right? I'll just use my example because I have 8 of them e-learning. So if I have these 8 children who are e-learning and I give them a couple of tasks, checklists, what they have to do for the day. And, kids are given the checklist based on their level of ability and able to comprehend what it is that I'm having them do. So if they're not able to handle that, right, based on their age. So we'll take my 6-year-old because she is part of this interview today. We'll get to that later. But if I was giving this responsibility to my 6-year-old, I wouldn't say if she didn't get everything done, you're a failure. I cannot believe you didn't get this done, right? And I definitely wouldn't be giving her more to do if she couldn't handle what I gave her, right? So why would we do that to ourselves? I don't understand it. But this is the thing that was going on in my head because coming from a background, being an only child, high achiever, always acquiring, honor roll in gifted classes, all these things, I was seen as, getting things done, being productive, very competitive when it comes to academics. So I was just figuring out, how am I losing at this role of parenthood that I have going on? Not taking into account that I was putting too much on myself, right? I was just drowning because I kept making the standards even higher every day when I didn't meet them the day before. So looking back now, it's like that just didn't make any sense. But many of us may be there. We're in a pandemic. So you take into account if you wake up, you're watching the news, you're moving on to whatever, you're not eating right, not exercising. You don't have these positive outlets for some of these uh, opportunities for you to clear your mind, for you to reflect. It's very possible you could end up on the same situation. Now, it may not be dealing with children and managing what you have at home, but it could be your job. You're not being successful on a certain task and you just keep putting more on yourself instead of saying, hey, I need a little help with this. This was something I learned also during the pandemic because we had this mindset, our kids are very self-motivated. When it comes to academics, we train them to kind of be responsible for their own work, whatever tasks they have to do, they're very independent. So when we had to come home in March, when everything just kind of hit the fan, we had just had the mindset, hey, we go to school during these hours. This is how we're going to do school. And that's going to be that. Well, during this time, that just wasn't working. Our kids were unable to sleep. They were dealing with depression and anxiety. from what's going to happen next. Every week it was something new, the numbers increasing, or, a different law within our certain area. So, you go from not being able to go anywhere to things gradually opening up, and, just this back and forth. They didn't have life the normal way that they were used to. So it was a lot of stress and anxiety for them, and they just didn't understand what was going on. So, needless to say, what started out as a routine system, we just modified it for what worked with us. The kids, just if they were up in the middle of the night or early or whatever, that would be time that they would do some of their work. They would take a nap or whatever, come back to it later. We just had a very flexible system because that was allowing us to really embrace what was going on instead of trying to have tunnel vision about something when none of us really could fully concentrate. So when we were able to break it up with like that and kind of have a little bit more flexibility, everyone was really in a better place to manage all the responsibilities of what was going on and to adapt accordingly. So I hope that's a good illustration for everybody to kind of understand where I'm coming from. So we're going to get to this whole issue now of how we can be proactive and daily check in with ourselves. So I came up with a movement, and it is the Smile for Wellness movement. So I am a stickler for acronyms. They just help me remember a lot of material in an easy way. So SMILE is an acronym. So the first letter is S, and that's sleep. So during this time when we daily check in with ourselves, we need to be mindful of how well did I sleep. During this period of me being depressed, I slept for like maybe 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours a night, because I'm nursing at some points, or kids are waking up with night terrors. And, that's what I thought life was, not really having a full night's sleep, staying up late, trying to finish whatever I was trying to finish before I just fell in the bed exhausted, sleeping for 3 or 4 hours, getting up, nursing, and running literally on empty. Okay, not refueling, but thinking that I was, wondering why, things aren't adding up in the, not even in the middle of the day. I'm exhausted. I'm dozing off at certain points with certain things that I have going on. So, sleep is the first thing that you need to monitor and make sure that you have at least 7 hours of. Now, we may not be able to get all that sleep at night, but I am an advocate of taking a nap, power nap, if you want to call it that. That is just as impactful as not getting any rest. Okay. So you want to try to aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. If that doesn't work, sleep as long as you can. But throughout the day, schedule in some nap time or just resting, no computer, no cell phone, just laying down, dimming the lights, maybe listening to music, but just resting. Just a period where if you can't go to sleep, because I have some people that say, I can't sleep in the day. Well, one of the things you could do is buy one of those eye masks. Try that, and think about meditating. Before you know it, you'll probably be asleep. The next element is mood. So I had no problem with this outside the home. I could smile, be excited. I call mood with a mask, right? So underneath, even though I'm, feeling like I am not uh, performing to the best of my ability or whatever the case may be, I'm smiling and I am out there doing all the things necessary. But then when I'm at home, it's back to not being in the best place, feeling like, hey, there's so many things that need to be done. It's just this taskmaster personality that just kind of takes over. The next element is your inner voice. So thinking to yourself, what am I saying to myself? You know, you're not getting anything accomplished, and you always do things like this. and whatever the case is. So you want to think about, am I telling myself stuff? And if I am telling myself something, what am I telling myself? Because the best way to grow, to move forward, is to ask yourself questions so you can reflect and then make a decision on if you want to continue with that. So, for example, for me to say, looking at my sleep, why are you tired? Okay. And then following that, how much sleep did you get? What kind of routine are you in? If you are tired and you feel like you're not 100%, why would you even think that you can accomplish this checklist with 5 to 7 things if you know that you're tired? So if you're tired today, how many things can you get done even though you're tired and get done well to the level that you're satisfied with? So then you can begin to ask yourself those questions. And then you think, man, I really think I need a lot more energy to accomplish maybe 3 of these things on my list. So I think I might want to take them off because based on my level of what I feel I can accomplish today, that's really not realistic, right? So when it comes to our inner voice, we want to think about asking ourselves questions so that we can reflect instead of telling ourselves something that is not going to serve us. So during that time of depression, there really wasn't very many people I was talking to outside of my kids because I was around them all the time. My husband had a very rigorous work schedule. He worked retail. So he was always at work dealing with the issues of that. So you're left to yourself. And if you're not in a place, you're so busy doing a lot of different tasks, many times you don't have that time to converse with people, reflect with them, on different things that you have going on. So the only person who you take time to fellowship with, so to speak, is yourself. So if you're not getting out, you're not infusing any other mindset, thinking, questions, whatever, perspective, you're going to continue on that loop over and over again. So the more you isolate yourself, the more you're going to be stuck. You're going to dig yourself deeper in the hole rather than infusing some perspective from other people and possibly asking them questions. So even if you just said, hey, I don't really know what to ask myself or whatever, but let's just say you say you're tired. Okay. So then you could interact with some other moms and say, hey, how do you do all that you do? And you just look fresh and bright and you don't look tired. So how do you do it? And then let them respond, right? Begin to ask those questions that are going to move the needle forward for you. Now, if you feel like, hey, I don't feel very comfortable asking people their business, get on Google. What can you do if you're tired? How do you, increase your energy? Things like that. All right. So the next letter is L, and that's laughter. So for this, yeah, I can smile and laugh outside the home, but when it got home, it was like, hey, guys, we got to get this done. You need your homework done. You need to make sure you're doing this. I want these chores done. Hey, we don't have time for that. Any kind of fun, laughter. It's like we can do all that outside the house. But when we get home, there's just way too many things to do. We don't have time for fun. We don't have time for laughing, right? And so this is very important to take some time to relax, to enjoy situations as they occur so that you can get back to that place of just relaxing, having fun, hearing the laughter of children and not the moaning and complaining of a house full of people who don't feel that they are valued, right? Because you think about it, if it's not a very peaceful, loving type environment, whatever you're thinking that you're dishing out, may not feel that way to other people because of the environment you're creating, right? And so this was very keen for me because my husband who worked, he would come home and he would relax and laugh and joke. And I'm thinking, we don't have time for jokes. I'm trying to be serious. You're laughing. So he's looking like the fun one, and I'm looking like the one that is the taskmaster that never wants to enjoy life. So this is something to be thinking about. And if you're not a comedian, I get that because I'm not either. Get online, go on YouTube, watch funny videos, cat videos, comedy clips, whatever it takes to make you laugh, because laughing really can help you put a lot in perspective. And then the last letter is E, and that's energy. So really being able to gauge, back to like I said, if you're tired, you don't have energy, why is that? So for me, everyone just preaches about moms having time for self-care, right? So for me, I thought, oh, my self-care is going to be when my kids go to bed so I can get them in bed. They get a good night's rest. But I'm up to the wee hours of the night trying to have self-care. So then they wake up fully fired up, rested, and, just like ready to tackle the day. And I am running on empty. I wake up exhausted. Matter of fact, they wake me up, right? So I'm waking up exhausted. I am not even at a point where I'm on the same page as them. I'm trying to catch up with them all throughout the day. So I challenge you to think about, how can I switch this around? Maybe I need to go to bed when they go to bed so that I can get up before them and have some me time before I wake them up. Or, something to where you really flip the script on that energy. If you're not someone who has a lot of energy, don't leave certain tasks to the end of the day when you don't have any energy to complete them, right? So if you need to really concentrate and focus, maybe you need to put those tasks in the beginning of the day rather than at the end of the day. Okay, so just things like that. And really gauge into, how are you eating? Are you drinking enough water? All these different things can be a reflection of the energy that we have or lack. And there's easy ways that we can take baby steps to get back on the road to improving our level of energy. So that is the elements of the smile. And I am going to check my phone really quick to see if there is a message from our guest. Yes, there's. Okay, so she is saying that she was on the link. See what I'm saying? We have these snafus that occur. So I am going to send her a message. I tell you, it is just crazy, guys. Bear with me. So if you guys are joining me live, put in the comments some things that you may struggle with when it comes to some of the things that you have going on. Let's see if I can get her on Facebook. This is just very interesting. I appreciate you guys' patience. We are going to see if we can get her on here now. We reply. Yeah, you know what? Technology can really cripple you if you let it, but we have to realize that life does go on, and we got along before this technology. So we have to have in our toolbox different things that we could do that can help us to move forward. Okay, so she is. Okay, let me see here. She should be able to join us now. I guess something happened with the wrong link that I gave her. Now my computer is saying low battery. So we're going to give her a few minutes to see if that link worked for her. You guys are so patient. Okay. Appreciate it. All right. So I sent her an email letting her know about that. So that's the elements of the smile. So I challenge everybody, if you're watching this as a replay, think about, what are some ways that you can check in with yourself? So that's my thing, is the smile. That's one of the ways that helps me to keep it moving and go forward in everything that I do. And it wasn't until after I saw my situation and how I was not getting it right, right? It took me 3 times to have this situation work out this way that I was able to move forward. So takes her to the same place. I am not. Here she goes. She's here. All right. Okay.
I clicked on the link,
So
but for some reason it wouldn't allow me in.
okay, I am so sorry about that. So, I just went ahead and ad lib. So that's why I didn't even get your message. And then when I was, after I've been talking for a while, I said, let me check and see. So we are so excited to have you this morning. So I'm going to let everybody know how we connected and then give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Okay.
Okay,
All
perfect.
right. All right. So Vanessa and I are actually meeting for the first time. She is an author of the book If a Kid Were President.
That's right.
And she did a Instagram like little clip video, and she included our youngest daughter, Hope, in the video. So my son actually knows Vanessa and linked up with her. And when I saw the video, I reached out and asked her to come on the podcast. So we are really excited to have you today, Vanessa. You look amazing,
Thank
okay?
you. Thank you so
Especially
much.
early in the morning, okay? So tell us a little bit about you, how you got this project going.
Yeah, so I actually really just focus on doing wardrobe styling, and that's kind of where I started doing my creative side. And, one day I was just during a fast for church, I was sitting in prayer, and God has always told me that some part of my journey would include being an author. I didn't know exactly what that would look like. I would write when I was a kid, but didn't really have, too much background in it. I did have a blog for a while, so my writing was, nourished in that area. And then one day it just kind of dropped in my spirit, and I wrote the book and connected with an amazing illustrator. My best friend's little sister, her name is Aluchi Ohaya, who has done an incredible job with this book. She really captured everything that I wanted to share. And honestly, the whole purpose of the book was to give kids something with a positive message, especially in the country that we have right now. There's a lot going on, a lot of confusion. They're dealing with things that none of us have really ever had to deal with, being stuck at home for school and everything that's going on with, politics and the whole Black Lives Matters movement. It's a lot for a child. So I wanted to give them something that was from a childlike perspective, right? They have something that shows a representation of every single color in this country, so they can see that they can be whatever they dream, no matter what the circumstances. And so that's why I decided to, move forward with the project, and it came out beautifully.
That is so amazing. So tell everybody where they can find the book and everything.
You can find the book on thebackpackmessenger.com or on Amazon. If you just do a quick search, If a Kid Were President on Amazon, it'll take you straight to the book.
Awesome. And so I love the way that you said you did this after praying and fasting. And talk to us about that. First of all, I don't want to be too forward, but you appear very young, so to have a mindset to pray and fast, I'm just really inspired by that. So
Thank
with
you.
your age, talk to us about what that journey is like to have a calling after fasting.
It can be a bit challenging. I'm not gonna lie. There was definitely some road bumps along the way, and nothing with life period is going to be easy, right? But you can either choose to sit there and mope about it or press through and fight for what you believe in. And so during the process, there was definitely a lot of tests and trials with, my family, my personal relationships, even my own, mental health. But, I would say to myself, maybe I can't do this. Maybe, I was just overthinking and, stretching myself. But, I have a really close relationship with the Lord, and it's more so a relationship and not a religion. And I tell people that all the time, that I'm not a religious person. I have a relationship with God. And so when I, slow all the noise down and just take a few deep breaths, and even for 2 minutes, I just clear my head and ask the Lord where exactly He wants me to go and what exactly He wants me to do. And consistently, all I hear Him say is just start. And so I've held on to that word for every project that I've done moving forward, is just start. A lot of times people don't want to start because they're afraid, or they overthink of what the outcome is going to be, or I don't have the financial means to do this thing, or when I get this, then I can start. But that's not the case at all. Like, I was going through financial struggles just like everybody else when the virus hit, and had no idea how this project was going to actually happen. But I just started and took it step by step, and then God did the rest. So
I love that. And there is a special type of anointing that happens when you get into the plan that God has for you.
definitely.
It's you start off scared, you have that fear, but it's like getting in the boat. You're somewhere right before you get on the boat, then you get on the boat and it's like, oh, okay, I feel safe, even though you don't know where you're.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also important to have a really great support system, right? I had
Mhm,
really awesome friends, and also one of my good friends is a life coach who helped me put everything down on paper to keep me
mhm,
counted.
mm,
Like I had to set certain goals, and when I accomplished those small goals, it turned out to be, collectively the bigger goal. And I'm not gonna lie, in the very end, before the book actually got fully published, it actually didn't print right. And I was
mm,
frustrated, and I almost pulled the plug on the project because I was
mm,
exhausted at that point. But I
mhm,
had friends who had strength for me, and they were like, no, we're not gonna give up. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna figure it out. So I think it's very important to be mindful of who you surround yourself with, because we're human. We're gonna get tired. Not You can't do life
mhm.
alone. It's just impossible. So when you do surround yourself, or even pray for people, God to send people around you that are going to fulfill your purpose, He will come through. And when you need it just in time, they'll be there to kind of hold you up when you're exhausted. So
I love that because, now talk to us about knowing the right type of people to support us. Because you know how you have a vision and it's something that is new for you,
right.
just in this case with this book. And you tell some people and they're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, have you written anything before? I don't know. Do you think you really could do that? As opposed to the right type of people who talk to us about how you knew who was supposed to be in your support group.
Right. I like to keep my circle fairly small,
Mhm.
and I really focus on, sorry, I'm getting background noise, quality over quantity.
Mm.
And it has actually, it's been a long time coming. So they didn't come out of the blue, right? I spent a lot of time in my prayer specifically asking for the community to surround me, and for God to guide me through who, and give me discernment to who needs to be a part of this project in my life at that time. And I think that goes down to having that relationship, because we can't really, in our own human self, understand what that looks like. But when we ask for wisdom, you feel it in your gut that this person is trustworthy just by the way that they, carry themselves. If a lot of times they're going to be doing something very similar to what you're doing, whether it's starting a small business, it may not be writing books, but it could be podcasts like yourself, um, or in music or in art or some type of category like that. And so that's what I look like. I look for people who are extremely driven, who understand what it's like to not have support. And usually those are the type of people who you can relate to and then trust moving forward. So it was only like 2 or 3 people, but God really did making those divine appointments and giving me these, spirit of discernment to say, okay, you can trust this person. But it is challenging. I'm not going to lie. It definitely is a challenge.
Yeah. And, as you explore just all that God has for you, it's kind of like, he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, so what that means is as you are obedient with certain tasks, he will elevate you. And
Mhm.
then it's like, man, it's a little scary, there's more that he allows you to have access to, a bigger platform to share with other people. So
Right.
I totally get that. And it's a growth process. And I love how you say you have a relationship more so than religion. That is so key. Now, so talk to us if someone is watching who is very at that point where they're wondering, is my message really important? They
Mhm.
feel led to be a writer, especially during this time. A lot of people have journaled, they have reflected and reflected and reflected, right?
Yes, lots of time to reflect.
So, but they're challenged about taking that first step to get started. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to write down a couple of key things. Number one, who are you writing this for? What do you want to accomplish by doing this? And how will this change your life? Those are the 3 questions that my life coach actually asked me before I started this project. And every time that I wanted to give up, he would remind me of my answers. And so my who was for kids that look like my nephew. Like I was very fortunate to grow up in a family that was extremely diverse. I joke all the time that I was raised by the United Nations because I have every ethnicity in my immediate family. And so
Wow.
my nephews are a pretty beautiful blend. They're Mexican, Greek, Ethiopian, and Black. And
Mm,
so at times they, would go to a school that people that didn't look at them at all, and they would get teased for having hair or long hair and having different features, big lips. And so they were my motivation, honestly, to give them something that they can see a book and a representation of themselves. And I wanted to do that for every child. So Aluchi did a great job when she illustrated every single kid in this book because it represents exactly what our country looks like. It's not um, just black or white. There's several different shades with several different backgrounds. And I thought about that every time I wanted to give up. If I don't do this, that message is not going to get out there. These kids are not going to get a book where they see themselves as, president or anything else in this world. And the other thing is, I wanted to make sure that the message came across where it covers important topics like global warming and equality and being inclusive. And so I think that this book includes all of those things in a gentle way, in a child perspective. So that's kind of what my drive was. And if you ask yourself those 3 questions each time you want to give up, look at your journal and remember your answers and then get back to it.
I love that. And, there's so much therapy when it comes to being an advocate for somebody. So, for somebody who's afraid to speak for others, what advice would you give them about that? Because I know, like my case, I come from a history of dealing with depression, and
Okay.
it's something that I was able to overcome. And I'm so clear about that message when I deal with mental wellness. So a lot of people feel like, man, I want to share, but I'm just scared about doing a Facebook Live or having the spotlight on me. What would you tell them?
Well, I actually have struggled with depression in my life as well. So I understand that that definitely is a real struggle. Um, One of the things that I mostly struggled with is coming off as, oh, you're strong, so you don't need help. And there's a saying that you should check on your strong friends. That is a very, very real saying because most people who, you know, are perceived to be strong are sometimes struggling the most. And so when it comes down to asking the question, how do I start or get my ideas out there? I think that it really boils down to just you have to do affirmations and be grateful because that is the only way that your mind can change. Even when you don't believe it, there are times when I said things to myself that I didn't necessarily believe, but I kept saying them until they became my truths. So every time you have a negative thought, just stop, shut it down. You have the power to say, no, I'm not going to think that. And replace it with something so simple like, I'm going to fail if I do this. Even if I fail, at least I tried. So you can combat it with in that approach, or no, I'm not going to fail because I can do all things. Um, and so it really just boils down to that.
I love that. And so that is so true. So that's just interesting. I love the way that you said check on your strong friends because,
Mhm.
you can get into a routine, which was my situation. They're like, what? He's got all these kids. She can do it all. And they don't even think you're struggling with anything. And
Right.
then it's like, you're feeling like you have to continue to perform and overachieve over what you did yesterday, and this cycle will
Right.
continue. I love that you say that. So, what is next for you? So, you got this major accomplishment. How are you marketing the book and things like that? Are there different ways that people can support you with that?
Yes, absolutely. I have my Instagram set up, so most of the marketing is going through Instagram. When you purchase the book,
Mhm.
there is a project at the end, which basically is asking kids to submit their answers on what they would do as president. So I plan on actually sharing, real answers from children like yourself. Yours were awesome. They were pretty real and such a blessing. So thank you so much. Their answers were actually right in line with the book. So super excited about that. And
Mhm.
I mean, I've just been honestly, literally everything has been day by day. Everything,
Mhm.
like I said, I didn't know what I was going to do. I don't have a
Mhm.
huge background in marketing. I kind of used exactly what I had. I don't have a
Mhm.
huge team behind me,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to use what I have. And so every day some new opportunity just pops in my inbox, and that's going back to trusting God with the process. The
Mhm.
next thing that I have going on is I actually have a teacher who reached out to me who's actually doing the lesson with her students, and
Mhm.
so I'm going to do a Zoom call with them and connect with them and see how that goes and then move forward. So when it comes down to supporting me, just follow the Backpack Messenger on Instagram and Facebook. Share the link with anybody you know who would be who would benefit or like the book. And that's basically just word of mouth is the biggest support, honestly.
Awesome. Yeah, and I have some people in mind that I want to connect you to as well because, this is a great platform, especially now with a lot of kids who some are at home learning, some are in the school, and just, it's such a good resource that a lot of schools or rec centers, if anybody who's watching and you have access to some of these places, reach out to Vanessa because I could think like the Y, MCA or some of these other girls and boys clubs, different things like that, where they work with you and encourage them to do positive things, have positive mindsets about, their situation and how to set goals and move forward. So this has just been quite a treat, Vanessa, and
Thank you so much.
wishing you so much success in all that you're doing. And
Thank you. And I wanted to
anyway,
add one more thing. So here's the book.
okay.
Um, the inaugural is coming up, and we just got a new president. So I think this is actually a perfect time to do the lesson for if a kid were president, for any teachers out there, or like you said, anybody that does Boys and Girls Club YMCA, because this is education, and I think it's important to have these discussions with our children on what it means, what politics mean, and what's happening in our country. But this actually sheds a positive light, and it's a safe tool that you can use to kind of educate them. So
I love that. Yeah. And now, where are you located?
I am located in Miami, Florida.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Mhm.
yes, this is good. So anybody in that area, we encourage you to reach out. And again, we just wish you much success on all that
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And
I
what an
appreciate
inspiration.
you. Thank
Okay.
you.
This is so inspiring. And this is one of the reasons I encourage people to share your story, because you never know how you can inspire the lives of others.
Right.
Just getting started, you don't have to have everything figured out, done, and worked out, but you can inspire people all throughout that journey. So this is really awesome. So glad we connected.
I
And
appreciate you so much, Miss Lachelle. Thank you so much
oh,
for the opportunity.
you are so welcome. And so, hey, we challenge everybody, share this video, you know,
Yes.
send it to people who may be in those type of environments that could use her book as a teaching tool. We would
Yep.
recommend that you share the video. This is a great insight on the author, what she believes in her core values. And I just say much success to you. I see a bright future ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you're doing awesome with your podcast. I love to see it. So thank you for the opportunity again. And I appreciate what you and your family have done so much. You've already supported me in so many different ways. Your son has been an awesome contributor in my circle. And
Mhm.
even having, the faith to, share your kids' responses to if a kid were president was incredible. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, you are so welcome. Well, we want to thank you guys all for watching us today,
Thank
and
you.
we will see you all the next time, okay? You guys have a great day today.
Thank you. Have a good one.